Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Daphne Grecki. I'm a customer success consultant here at Clarivate. And in the next 45 minutes that will follow, I'm going to take you through our Web of Science researcher profiles, in particular, recapping, summarizing for you what we've added in the past year, a newer functionality that we also just added that allows people to submit corrections. So we're going to see on a couple of slides, summarizing what those updates were, and then I'm going to go live, and you're going to be able to see what those changes are directly in Web of Science. A couple of, just housekeeping notes, so I'm going to leave a few minutes at the end, to ask questions. Also bear in mind, I'm on my own running the presentation today, so I'm not going to be able to see the chat while I'm in presentation mode. But please, feel free to type questions there. If I don't respond right away, I'm not ignoring you. I will read them, once I pause, get back into the chat, and we'll get to them. And if for whatever reason, I don't get to answer every single question, worry not, I'll take them down and I'll just email you the answers in the course of the week. Okay. So without any further ado, let me stop my video, and then I'm going to share the materials. So stopping my video here, and I'm going to share my screen. There we go. So the excellent. So the first thing I want to share in here, I'm not going to share everything that is in the deck, but I want to use it to call out, what's new. Clarivate, has been investing a lot in author profiles, helping, aggregate that information and connecting it with other really, really important scholarship information, such as, for example, connecting authors, to their preprint, or if their published work is cited by patents. Now we link to that too from the main profile page, so that it becomes much easier for authors to even track, their impact into the industry, whenever a patent is citing you. So, so those of you that just joined us, so again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day for this. I will focus on, using Web of Science profiles, to help not only researchers raise their visibility globally, right, by bringing publication and citations together, but also we're going to see how, from that profile, you can see publisher verified peer reviews on there. You can see then, the author citation impacts through visualization, so you can perform, some analysis as well. And I'm going to spend a little time as well talking about the author impact bin plot, which is, a graph that helps you contextualize this author body of works, citation. And then, as you saw in the agenda, the last part of this brief webinar will be focused on personalized article recommendations that the Web of Science, generates for researchers, as well as spending a minute talking about the citing patent analysis by subject category that you can that is connected, with a researcher profile. And the last item is going to be talking about a career, summary CV resume, and how that can be created from the researcher profile, as well as how you can share it directly from there. So as we go through, you'll see how, everything that we're discussing is really designed to help institutions and researchers, not just only streamline profile maintenance to showcase your institutional excellence, but it's really to help you really maximize the benefit of researcher data, from the Web of Science. So so quickly moving forward, so what we are going to be, addressing first is really, the difficulty and the challenges that, every day, every researcher has maintaining their profiles, because, of time constraint, because, of information being in different silos across excel across different areas of the web, so really how Web of Science helps maintaining your profile. Then we're going to really talk about and look at Web of Science researcher profiles, so if you haven't used them yet, or you haven't used them in a while, you get a refresher about that as well. And then obviously I'm going to talk about, how to integrate a little bit researcher data into your systems. So really the focus here is, all of this is to help alleviate, the challenges and burden that come with maintaining comprehensive researcher data. Very often, librarians tell me, whenever I give some training sessions or I'm presenting at, at some public conferences, I'm always hearing that sometimes the library is called upon, to maintain these profiles, and that can be very time consuming. So really the idea is for researchers to be able to, in a streamlined fashion, to be able to maintain this themselves, so in order to do that, they need to have tools that help them do this quickly, that automate this process so that their profiles are, always up to date, showcasing their academic talent impact correctly. So this is what I'll be talking about, and then trying to advance here. So here are the challenges. We ran a brief, survey, with Ex Libris, which is one of a company, and also with an independent research agency. And what was interesting is that what we found out, is among all the people that we surveyed, the vast majority of researcher time that should be spent on research activity, we heard again that unfortunately the majority of researchers, and it was about nearly 3/4 of researchers that responded, spend more or less 25% of their time on administrative tasks, so reporting, tracking, collecting data. Whereas ideally, in an ideal world, they would want to spend time on research activities. So building research proposals, evaluating research trends, conducting field work, disseminating results. So that, obviously, has, is not aided by the fact that, if people are using multiple platforms, they don't sync together, then that takes even extra time for them to be able to maintain, profiles. And then most people are using ORCID, some other people are using Research ID. And so we always get asked, so how do you Web of Science research profiles? How do they connect with ORCID? Is it automatic? And your answer is yes. We'll get to that later. So that in itself, gives you the reassurance that, people with minimum effort can maintain, an accurate and up-to-date, research profile. Moving on to the core of our topic. Here I'm just presenting a couple extra. These are also from 2002, but it's really the landscape hasn't really changed in that the burden is getting worse, and the drop in the number of institutions reporting that their research portal were up to date. We did see a little bit of a drop, between 21 and 22, but also in 23, where one of the biggest pain point is it's difficult to keep our research portals up to date, and then also researchers saying it's become very difficult to keep our own profiles also up to date because of the challenges that we just outlined. So what we're focusing here is, as obviously we've already reviewed the main challenges. How will this particular area of the Web of Science, how is it positioned to assist you in not only alleviating these pressures, but also making it very easy to track your faculty activities, and to really keep author profiles up to date. So we're about to take a look. I'm of course going to go live, but before going live and just opening up a profile, I just wanted to present and call out what you can expect to find in a profile. So what is its makeup and where is the information coming from? So first thing, very important to understand and remind ourselves, is that a Web of Science or researcher profile is automatically created for every author that is indexed in the core collection. So even if you're not a subscriber presently of the Web of Science, whenever the journal in which your papers are in is indexed. If it's part of the core collection, there already will be a researcher profile for that author. Already to date, there's around, there's in excess of 35 million profiles for authors that are in the Web of Science core collection. They span all countries and research disciplines. And then also in the way that we create, these data internally, in the vaccine, Clarivate, uses AI, and through that process, when these profiles are automatically created, we compare any given authorship on a paper to another and amalgamate those that, the AI and the algorithm believes, recommends believes to be authored by the same person into a single record, which then, provides an overview, of their collective work and their body of work and their impact. Profiles, of course, they can be searched independently, but it can also be navigated to by, if you are running a topic search, for example, you're looking at an area, I don't know, medicine, and then you're coming up with some results. You click on the author name, you can navigate to the profile of those authors within the document record. Or you can go into the tab on the landing page that says researcher and conduct, an author search. So as I said, how they're built together, it's automatic, and so nobody should think that, oh, I'm going to log into Web of Science and I'm going to have to put in a lot of work to create my profiles are going to be there. However, records can be corrected too with anybody that has a Web of Science account. There is a correction wizard. And profile can be claimed then by the researchers themselves, because when they claim them, the researchers can keep an eye on them. They can even expand the type of content there is there, and I'm going to go and elaborate on that later, including how to submit corrections. So you see here, on the right hand side, that not only, the profile, is going to be including the published papers, but, and I know it's really small, so I'm going to go live, in the next few minutes, but a particular person profile is going to show you exactly all the institutions, the affiliation that they've been at from the address. It's going to also standardize all the different name variants that this person has published under. So if there's author with similar names, or, a maiden or married name, you're going to see that here, clearly outlined in the profile. And not only the published literature is linked to the author, but also any thesis and dissertations that they have published is going to be listed here as well. And that data comes from a ProQuest dissertation and thesis database, as well as any preprint. If they have published any preprints, manuscripts in the online, repository that the Web of Science indexes, there'll be a link there, as well as all the analytics, and then the link, the citation from patents here as well. As I said, we're going to see a little bit better once we go live. So in terms of the what affiliation, we put there. So there's going to be a preferred name and organization. That is the one that you can see in the Web of Science when you're searching by affiliation. So instead of, putting one of the different, sort of child, entries in a hierarchy of a school, that school, preferred name, especially if it's a hierarchical umbrella, that follows the latest update in the Web of Science, that is what's going to be shown on the author profile. And then alongside, all the subject categories that this person has published in, there's also their awards, any connected identifiers. So if they have an ORCID ID or a couple of maybe different ORCID ID, because that sometimes happens too, people forget that they've got one, and then there's two that will be linked and connected right there. Quickly moving forward, because I do have a lot of things that I want to cover. So as I said, scholarly outputs, there's peer reviews, I already called it out, preprint dissertation, also awarded grants as well. That's about to be added. Awarded grants is already searchable in a Web of Science. If you our Web of Science subscribers, you haven't noticed that yet. It's been added a few months ago, completely free of charge, to the Web of Science. The requirement is that you need to have, the at least, the three main flagship indices from the core collection. So Science Citation Index, Social Science Citation Index, and Art and Humanities. And then awarded grants are not in the core collection, but they're on a Web of Science platform. And they're really great because they bridge that gap between literature and historical grants. So it makes it a lot easier to connect what previous grants have been awarded to particular topics, so that when you are working with researchers, and assessing, where should we focus our effort? Should we even submit a grant proposal for this? Is it likely to be, are we likely to get it? You can gauge likely what it's going to be like by previous historical, awarded grants. So when that author has awarded grants in here, his or her name, that is now about to be shown as well in the profile. Then I would say probably the biggest update that often, when I'm hosting review sessions for our customers, of course, there's always a lot of information and people are busy, and often people haven't noticed that there's actually some analytics that have been added. So you're not just looking at, to recap, a profile that's already automatically that you may make some corrections if you want to, but it doesn't just show you journal literature, it shows you dissertation, now, awarded grants, preprints, dissertation and thesis that the author may have, but also it comes with a set of, there's a bin plot, and there's a co-author network that you can go and view, so that you can really dig into this author's, impact, into, how they, into, even which of their works, have been mostly cited, in relation to other peer works. So it's really, really powerful, and I would definitely recommend that, you go and take a look if you haven't, logged into this particular functionality for a while. Familiarize yourself, because when you're getting, you're going through tenure and promotion exercises, or you simply have, researchers coming to you and saying, hey, can you pull my citation count, my H index? You can really use these tools to make recommendations and also really help them understand and tell that story, how they're shining, so this is really, really powerful. The patent citation is also really new. It's one of the latest additions to the profile, and that we've added as a result of feedback, because more and more there's a crossover and synergy collaboration between academia and industry. And so a lot of the literature, is referenced, and then, in innovation, and, and it's not uncommon for a paper to be cited then by patent. So that's another really good tool to track your impact into then the downstream, subsequent innovation. And that is something that, would be great to put on a resume, to just say, these two papers have then been cited by a patent, meaning that, you contributed to that idea, that innovation, then becoming, commercial product, because that's usually what why a patent is filed. So the we're going to click into the beam plot, now when we go live, but just to give you a very quick preview, from within the researcher profile, not only you get, something very similar to the citation report that you're already familiar with, you can see exactly the velocity, the trended analysis for his body of work, over time, how much has this person published, and then in violet, the citations. So they've been publishing more and more, with some, slowdowns here, but the citation pace has been increasing with a peak right here. So this is interesting. So this is overall looking at the whole body of work, but whereas here, you with a bin plot, and I think we have a recorded session, I'm going to point to it on our public website, about beam plots, but here it's basically contextualizing the impact of specific papers. So if you're looking at the author H index, this is going to guide you in understanding which of that paper is particularly contributing to the author's success. So in other terms, it contextualizes the citation, per paper. And here you also have a geographic citation map, so that you can see the impact, geographically. So also, all these updates, have also been not just added to the researcher profile page, but they're also cropping up in different parts of the Web of Science that, again, because of, workflow, how much time you spend in it, probably just checking your alerts, you may not realize, all this being also added in terms of when it comes to researchers, some basically personalization and recommendation when you log in. So when you log in, you have some contextual recommendation that welcome you, and then it's going to show you obviously your latest alerts and your latest search history. But it's also making recommendation based on your search keywords, based on even your own body of work, your own profile. And the beautiful thing here is that you can actually edit this recommendation and maybe say, enter your own keywords, so that this is going to help you, bring to you, make visible, perhaps, additional content directly from the homepage, so it's definitely a push tool here as opposed to a pull tool where you're going to go and search, but it's all designed, to really go and look at, especially if you have a researcher profile, with your subject categories, is looking at the keywords, the subject categories there, and is helping adding recommendations. Also, there is also here a conference recommendation. I want to clarify that, what we mean here. This does require a Pivot RP subscription. Pivot is our open funding database that was, came to us, from Ex Libris, which is part of the Clarion family now. And so for those of you whose institution has a Pivot subscription, the way that connects into the Web of Science is that as the researcher logs on to the Web of Science homepage, again, looking at his own work, his own profile, and what they've been searching, the system is going to make recommendation of upcoming conferences where they may be interested in either presenting or just making them aware that a conference on that topic is coming up. So very helpful for current awareness to have that, on the homepage as well. I mentioned that I was going to talk about ORCID because this hasn't changed, by the way, from previous years, but I wanted to quickly, go over this again because we often get asked questions. So if I have an existing ORCID profile, do I have to, can I connect it to Web of Science? Is it automatically, if I update ORCID on one side, does it automatically then push the data into the Web of Science? So here, what the context, is, right there. It is in fact that I'm trying to actually get to, hold on to the information, is that the automatically what you add in ORCID is automatically added to your Web of Science profiles and the article records. So, you go and update, you keep your ORCID up to date, which is mostly where people go and create lists, their publication. That will talk to Web of Science and update that. But also it's a two-way, feedback loop, because also, articles that are added and peer reviews in the Web of Science also, as the Web of Science, gets updated, that gets pushed out daily to ORCID as well. So you don't, in a nutshell, you don't have to worry about either platform in that they are connected in the background, and there's a daily movement of updates, between the two. One thing, though, that has changed, an enhancement that I wanted to mention to you is actually streamlining your profile maintenance. It's to really ensure, the accuracy of, profile, because remember, the algorithm makes an association aided by AI, but, sometimes it could happen that you have sometimes, author with the same name. I don't really see that happening a lot. What I'm mostly seeing in terms of, support requests is often there will be, researchers that maybe are at the health science, of an institution. And perhaps, in the past, say, 3 to 5 years, that university health science center, likes to publish in a detached fashion, from the main institution. But the authors, as they're publishing, they keep, putting the general affiliation address on the paper. So then when their profile comes up, they seem to be affiliated, with, say, I don't know, University of Texas as opposed to just the science center. So sometimes there's some individual curation that they want to bring to the picture, so that their affiliation is with the science center as opposed to the overall institution. I think they want that also because sometimes the different divisions have their own funding. So how to maintain the profile, so it's actually just very simple. There's basically a link directly in here that you can click and submit a correction directly there. But also in terms of curating even multiple records, you can also reach out to our teams. There's obviously no additional charge, and then we can then go internally and make those changes at the back end for your researchers. So it can be done on a one-on-one, by the researcher themselves. But if you feel that perhaps, you have, researchers that are no longer there, or you see any discrepancy in the data, contact, your relationship manager, the person you already speak to, Clarivate, and then we can apply that in bulk. You just send us usually an Excel spreadsheet, and we can update it with no, manual work, required, at your end. I usually see this scenario, happen more frequently than the whole thing. Yes, and this is really, really quick as well. So we talked about this, about the synchronization. I think that here, though, what I captured on the screenshot was a better screenshot. And you see that, connecting when you're setting up your profile, connecting your ORCID account helps you keep both profiles up to date. And then especially keeping them up to date means that then you can actually export the information from the Web of Science, even in a resume, if you want to. But then when you do that, you can select what goes into the resume, but it really means that there's very minimum work that is needed, at your end. There was a question that I saw. I don't see the actual chat itself, but I see the notifications pop up on my screen. I saw a question pop up, said, how quickly are corrections made? So that's a really good question. So the Web of Science, as you know, is updated daily with new publications and citations to them. Typically, the way that would work is, you contact your, me, if you are, I'm located in California, and my area of training and support is California all the way to Texas included. Then I have 2 other colleagues for the rest of the US. And then we have the rest of the team, in all over the world, so based on your region, I would say, contact your regular person that your institution speaks to. Usually the way that we would do it, we would have a call with you, or we'll get, the changes by email, or the researchers pushes them out using a link that says, submit a correction. And then that will go to the data unification team internally. So they will apply the changes, at the back end. And then it can, depending on, how many changes are requested, it can take, I would say, anywhere from about a week to go in. I've seen 1 week to 2 weeks to go into the Web of Science. And then what's great is that, and those can be, by the way, researcher profiles, correction, but also even affiliation. Remember the example I've just mentioned, when the institution goes and looks at its affiliation and says, okay, well, this particular variant, we don't want it coming up, or it should be just listed under the Health Science Center. That should not be listed under our main address, So we can put in that and help you apply that to Web of Science. And the reason why I'm saying help you is that obviously the data that we get is the data we get from publishers, right? And publishers get that from whatever the author is putting in the manuscript, So the data in itself, is put on a paper by the authors, and not everybody remembers, to perhaps, check the affiliation. Sometimes there's typos, so we need to go in at the back end and just, aggregate it for you, so that then you don't have to do that manually, and you can just don't worry about it. They'll be done. So it's pretty fast. And for those of you that are also using our benchmarking tool, Insights, benchmarking and analytics, the good news there is that obviously any changes that are made into Web of Science, they can go in, within a week or 2. Then once Insights is updated, and that's updated monthly with the data from Web of Science from previous months, any changes in the author affiliation in Web of Science then will be applied into insights as well, so it's really important to keep things up to date. And as you said, ORCID and as you saw, Web of Science work together, because then everything is up to date. So let me show you that. Let me switch to the actually the live platform, because there's also another couple of things that I wanted to show you there besides an actual record. So let me exit here. Okay, in here and go into, okay, here. The actual profile that I'm going to look at, because now we can see a little bit bigger, is this. And I do want to show you the beam plot. But just before I do that, I wanted to point out a nice, reference link, on the website that I would recommend that you go and save, because all the product updates are published there. And that is this question mark that you see at the bottom right-hand corner. I'm going to click on it right now. That is the resources and update center. And so here you get, you go into product updates, and here you can track the release notes of every single update that has gone into the Web of Science. So if you click, it takes you onto your web page. I often use that even to inform my own training sessions, because it's a nice way to review, what was added and when. But also, this is also a page, if I go back, where, you can contact us there, submit a data correction there too. But otherwise, if you are, an author and you want to use the individual update process, the submit a correction buttons right there. Let me just click on it so you can see. So you'll go here and, okay, while it's loading, and then it's just going to say, provide your content information. So you can do it on behalf of someone else. It's going to ask if it's you or if you are a proxy for the author. And then you're just going to fill out, go through the details, and then that will go and, that will reach, our team, and then the changes will be made. Another thing I was going to show you that's directly related to, let me go back to that profile that I had just before. I can get it on the search history. It's taking a little bit of time to load. But the other page I was going to show you, there you go, is when you click here and you go into product updates, particularly for what we're talking about today, you'll find them. I'm going to put them in the chat also before the presentation is over. You get a summary of today's update even there, so these were applied at the end of 2023, but because they're important, I still wanted to, and they're related to researcher profiles, wanted to go through them today again, so here we already mentioned the recommendations in the alerts in the homepage, so you can go and read about it here. Save searches and alerts, you can choose actually your preferred source for recommendation. So that can be your search history, that can be your mark list, or as we said, your articles in your research profile. So that can be tailored. And then once it's created, it's now monthly, and you can manage, from the widget so basically from here, right? When you go into your researcher profile, you can manage all of that there. The alert also, is something that, you can, obviously you have to be signed in, to be able to edit it. But, once you sign in, and you go under alert management, which is the last tab on the portal, then here you can specify exactly how you want to be alerted. And then the citing patent, that I'd also mentioned, I just wanted to present it to you here, before we open it up, because then we can give a bit of the backstory of what we've done there. So as I said, this was something that we wanted to include because it's really important to be able to not see just how many citations an author's body of work has received from the literature, but also be able to look at, are there any patents that have been citing my work? It's important because you can use it as part of your metrics, but also it really helps you tell the story of how your research is impacting, innovation, and all that the researcher has to do. Remember we said if the papers of that particular person are in a journal that we index in a core collection, it will already be in the Web of Science. So the author just has to, look themselves up, get into a profile, and then we recommend that they claim it to basically say, oh yes, I'm the author and this is my page, this is my profile, so I'm claiming it. So in other terms, what they would do is they would, and this one, has been claimed, but what they would do here, there will be a button here that says, claim your profile. And that means that, you are, now in charge, of your verified author record. So, you go claim my record, and then, you can, continue to keep an eye on this. And so the citing patents, just to wrap up that, really was important, because here you get to see a count, so in this example, the person that published in total 2,867 documents. You can see the breakdown here. So you see that the majority are peer-reviewed, journal articles from the core collection. But you also see that they have published, 37 preprints. Now, this is important, and I would say it's become even more and more important in the past decade. We even ourselves, when we look at within production, what document types, we see more of, or growing faster within the Web of Science. We saw a massive increase of preprinting, especially during the pandemic, where people were called upon to research fast, try to understand what was going on, and funding was given to research and what was going on too. And so when you are turning to like research, and collaborating on particular topics, sometimes, there's no time to go through the peer review process, and so scientists use preprint a lot to be able to, go through different versions of the manuscript. And so not only does different versions of the manuscript are linked in a Web of Science, we have the preprint citation index, which we launched last year, which is also free of charge and has been added for everybody. But not only that, now, if they have authored any manuscripts that are preprints, you're going to see them here. And I like this because not every preprint manuscript makes it into a peer-reviewed journal. Like I said, sometimes it's more of a platform for scientists to bounce ideas between each other. Think about, ArchiveX, BioX, MedX. Yes, eventually you'll get some that'll go through the peer review process, but that is not always the intention, of a preprint. So, and given that a lot of great information is published there, if you're conducting your landscape searching, your literature review, you want to take a look at those, obviously bearing in mind that it's not peer review, but if you want to see what new topics, what novel ideas, are being discussed, then preprint is a good place to go and look at. Same as, thesis and dissertation, so graduate research. So obviously they should feature on somebody's profile as part of their scholarship, their work. They don't have any dissertation and thesis here, otherwise you'll see them. And again, very crucial to have this, it's also added in a Web of Science for everybody. Very important because graduate research also doesn't always make it later on into a peer review paper. And a lot of the time when it does, we've always noticed that a lot of the data, especially when it comes to methodology, a lot of the tables, are stripped out of the dissertation if it makes into peer review scholarly or scientific paper. So again, is there anything that they publish there? You see here, as well as your verified peer reviews, the editor records. So then you go and look at, this is, we don't need to go over this because this is the percentage index, how much they published in Web of Science, the sum of, this is the total of the citations they received, these are the citing articles. And then here you see that in total, there were 166 patents that cited their body of work, their literature, and here you see sum of time cited by patents, so 188 time cited that they receive, from patents. How do you take this a little bit further? Of course, when we add something in, we don't just give you a number. They've made it available as part of the analyze. You can go and utilize. And so that means that you go and you click on the citing patents, and then you may want to simply answer, okay, 166 actual patents are citing my work. What field are these patents in? So which downstream area of technology development am I influencing? Is it engineering? Is it physics? Because, in a lot of times, especially with innovation, sometimes, an idea originally developed for concept A, then gets applied, to a site technology, an adjacent technology. So it's really good to empower the researchers to even look at that angle to tell a story of easy impact. And so this really helps because you click into 166, then in here, you get to see, for example, okay, that many patents are, citing patents are in chemistry or in biotechnology. And then if you click onto them, you can go and see them. To see them, you need to have a subscription within the Web of Science platform to the Derwent Innovations Index. Those of you that have, comprehensive packages, I think in the past we used to call it Citation Connection. But anyway, the full platform, you'll then be able to actually go and look at the patent that is citing your author's work. So very, very powerful. So that allows that to perform some analysis. So remember, it's for claim profiled, so I would always say this, whenever you have a library day, or, you're running some instructions for the user, always remind them, don't worry. I know that people take time, maybe putting things into ORCID, but that updates the Web of Science. Have them take the time to look themselves up in Web of Science and just click on claim profile, from here, right at the top. Because then once they claim their profile, there's a lot more that they can do with the data that's already there, including, and that's the last piece that I wanted to show about, that I'm going to click on the profile and then check if there's any questions. The last piece that I just quickly wanted to go over was also how this curated information assists you also with exporting a resume, a CV. Web of Science researcher profiles, they can take advantage of that. So what they'll do is that from their profile, they'll just click on export options, and then they can customize, whatever career highlight they want to export. It can be the full profile. That's what I was saying. It's important that we've been able to list all these items too, because there's a lot more than just publishing in papers, and especially I would say peer reviews as well are very important, because peer review takes a lot of time. It's very prestigious, it's very looked at when it comes to determining someone's expertise, understanding in what journal titles they're, they peer reviewed, specific papers, but also how much have they done, because it's never retributed as an effort. Yeah, it's very, very telling on someone's expertise. So here they can selectively choose what they want to export right here. So, from the About Them section, but then also here, from the Web of Science researcher profile. And then once they're done selecting what they want, they've got custom fields as well, see grant names, if they have any grant, and then that allows them to export that information, into a couple of different formats. So you can read a bit more about that, in this page. I'm actually going to click a link here because I want to put in the chat just as we wrap. This link will also tell you how to submit a correction with screenshots. And like I said, it's very, very easy. It just says right there. And it's usually, pretty fast. So before I just open it up to questions, because we are almost top of the 45 minutes, I just wanted to actually show you. Also remember that being able to browse auto profile, you don't actually need to have a paid Web of Science access, because you can always register a free Web of Science access outside of your institution, and profiles are public. That's the beauty of it, that even all of this, that is put into the Web of Science, is not just visible. When we say that it helps with visibility globally, it doesn't just make it visible to other subscribers of Web of Science. It makes it visible to everybody because, and I think that I can show you because I logged on into an incognito window here. Yeah, there you go. So see here, I'm logged on with my Gmail, right? And I found this page on our Zendesk, which actually just tells you a register access without subscription. People can still go and create their Web of Science profile. It will be there already, but they can go and at least check it. They can go over the beam plot. And so that just to reassure you that people can go and see that even without a paid subscription, which means that people all over the world that may not be necessarily subscribing to Web of Science can see these profiles, so it's very visible for everybody. So here I told you, the identifiers, the published names, which is great, subject categories. This is a bit where they would say, actually, that is not me. So, and we could then correct it. There are words. cited, this is all we have here. And then here are the documents. If they publish the paper in a journal that we don't index, we'll still show it to you. See, there's 8, we'll still tell you. It's just so you won't be able to click into it. But this is so powerful because we're not just saying, oh, it needs to be in Web of Science. No, 539 in Web of Science, but there's also non-index publication. If I click, just want to show you what happens. See, you see what it is, but you're just not going to have a direct link. And then peer review. In this example, look how many peer review he's conducted, so you can go and view them. This came from a platform, Publons, that's in the past few years was integrating to the Web of Science. So peer reviews, editor records, his board membership, and also any open publisher invited reviews, because of the open science is very, very important and crucial. And we are all up against fake, predatory, not just publishing, but also predatory reviews as well. So this is really an open process where, when, there is a, publisher invited review, you can read a little bit more about it here, that are commissioned, usually they're commissioned by journal or conference before publication, then we link to that. And so you can go and see what's being reviewed. And then just to conclude, on the right-hand side here, so remember, they click on here to claim it. They click on submit correction. They can share it. They can add an alert that will send an email. I could add an alert too, and I get alerted when he has published something new of any of these document types. Then you can see the dashboard. Just want to show you that too. And again, this presentation is a teaser today, just really designed as a recap, and then for you to go and click, I can see his metrics, so this needs no explanation, is, over time, it's been publishing more and more, and he had a citation peak right there. But then, since this is very absolute as value, oh, it's published a lot here, and it was mostly cited there, then what about plotting this information to really understand his citation percentile? And so here, over the years, you can apply some filters, as well. You can do full career or recent 10 years. But when you apply the filters where he was first, last, or corresponding author, you can apply it to article and reviews as well. What you see here is citation comes from Web of Science, and the citation percentiles are from Insights, that we present here. And it so really, really helps you review their career. And also for those that are new, to reading SpinPlop, really to sort of explain, the average, citation percentile of all publication for the same year against, the annual median. So it's a way to contextualize the citation and its impact over the years, and then by record. And then if you hover, you can see exactly that. And as I said, there is a recorded presentation on the BIMPLA that you can go and look at, here also in the help pages. And here you just see, if you click on the citation map, you see also, there you go, the distribution of this person's citations across the globe is still loading. So you see that, where his work is primarily being cited. So there's a lot that you can do here. So again, all of this has been developed to help you tell the story from an institutional point of view for all your authors, but also them individually, to help them look at that data from different angles so that they can really, really tell, make themselves visible. And again, this is public even to everybody, even without a Web of Science subscription. And then lastly, there's a recommendation here, that says, you might be interested in, and it points to to other authors. This is again AI looking at, what he's published and similar author that have published in similar fields. The co-author to him, so that is often really helpful because it's difficult to find sometimes. And the citing patterns, the last thing I'm talking about is, so you see the collection metrics. So his H index is 101. He's published 539 publications that, as we said, one second, let me verify, 539 in Web of Science. So remember that it's in Web of Science, there's an extra 8 outside. So these values are applied to Web of Science. Where was I? Okay, here. Yeah, and it tells you for collection metrics, these are the number of papers that are citing his publications, but there's also patterns that are citing his publications in the same way that you will go and analyze who cites him. So you can click onto the publication that are citing him and then do your usual filtering, or you can go and analyze who is citing that author. and you see, okay, they're primarily in nanotech, chemistry, or, what country are the people in that are citing him, his work. You can do country analysis. You can do, basically every field that you can search by, you can also analyze by. Also with, the citation topics, the sustainable development goals, these are we've added this a couple of years ago. It's a categorization that ISI, Clarivate put together with the Institute for Technology and Science in Leiden. If I go, say, into the meso here, I can see that people that are citing this author work, they themselves work in biosensors, herbicides. You can get even more granular with a micro. There you go. So molecular imprinting. So this really, really helps him understand where he's having impact. But then likewise, if we go back to his page, how much is he influencing innovation? I'm going to click on the citing patents at 168. Again, so to see these, you need to have access to the Darwin Innovation Index, so that then you can look at all the filtering, but then similar, analyze. And so now that I'm analyzing, I can see, for example, subject areas. So this is the actual subject areas. They have patents that have been applied for or have been granted. So his work is heavily influencing these fields. So then if you want to go and see where exactly what he's influencing, say in pharmacology, pharmacy, just like you do in Web of Science, you go on your records, you open the record of the Darwin, patent, and then you can go and look at it. And if you scroll down to the citations, you'll see that some of the citations were actually, articles. So his work.